Making Up for Lost Time by Dapper Little Arts. Chapter 2. It's Always Been You. Saturday lasted an eternity. Like discovering the answer to a riddle, she couldn't tell why she hadn't figured this out earlier. And much like it, she felt an unending shame for taking so long to understand it. And what a cruel riddle it was. Rarity spent the entirety of Saturday either attempting to distract herself, or reminiscing, mulling, stewing, being wrapped up in the torturous thoughts that plagued her. The thoughts being fairly simple. That she was in love with her best friend, Applejack. And she only figured this little tidbit out after both their hairs started graying. And the further back she looked, the more it made sense. Their closeness, their soft spots for each other, their intimacy. None of that was coincidental. Every single tender moment of kindness they both shared recontextualized itself in her mind. In a single day. She cursed herself for getting complacent, and for remaining with only the friend label for the last few decades. How could she have been so blind? It made her nervous, it made her shifty, because she had not pined over someone for well over a decade, maybe more. And this was a lot more serious than just the desire for a simple fling. This was something she wanted to have for the rest of her life, no matter how short that may be. She would need to act on those feelings, of course, use her charm, use her wiles, use her many years of experience in seduction. But would that not be counterintuitive if she wanted something more than just a fling? It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as just basic seduction. Everything was different now. Plans, ideas, plots even, all swirled around her head as she trotted around town looking for distractions. But none of them mattered, because it was still Saturday. None of them mattered, because in the end, honesty had to win. That ever so infuriating tug-of-war of facing her feelings and wanting a distraction persisted. A spa experience surely would soothe her nerves, and yet it felt like by the time she was done, no time had passed. Getting groceries done surely would take up some of her time and be productive, and yet she was done just like that, the sun still high in the sky. Visiting the community center, spending time with familiar ponies, checking up on the town, making some small talk, surely that would take up more of this eternal Saturday. She walked back home, and the sun was no lower. She considered her frustration for a moment, considering that if she could, she'd absolutely call her princess friends and ask them to lower the sun already, and get this day over with. Looking into the outskirts of town, she strongly considered for a moment galloping towards Apple Acres, and embracing her love, throwing caution to the wind and just seeing Applejack today, clinging to her and not letting go, regardless of what imposition that would be. But with a sigh, she gave up on that idea. After all, Applejack was ever busy, ever hard-working, and she didn't need a love-stricken old mare getting in the way. Entering the boutique, she immediately turned on her phonograph and started tidying up the place. This had been a common thing for her, having soothing songs play as white noise across the boutique, ever since Opal had died and Sweetie Belle had left, taking their antics and shenanigans with them. The Carousel Boutique felt as quiet as a grave whenever there were no clients present. And yet she could not escape her thoughts, and she could not escape her realization. The simple realization that she had wasted so much time of her life, gone, and with her shambling on the halls of that boutique alone. Suddenly, all her accomplishments seemed void. All the incredible fashion shows, the amazing runways, the celebrities that considered her a close friend, the travels across the most fashionable high-class places in Equestria, the parties thrown in her and her friends' honor, for saving the world time and time again, all the success and money she had accrued, and even all of the lovely one-time flings she had. None of that seemed to matter, because whenever she returned to Ponyville, her home was empty, because she had grown older and grayer, and her home was empty. Sunday had come, and it couldn't have come sooner. Applejack rushed by her routine, throwing shame to the wind. No Granny Smith to scold her, no Big Mac to give her judgmental glances. No problem. Apple Acres was hers. So if she wanted to do the bare minimum and rush to her old friend's side, that's just what she'd do, darn it. Rarity's loneliness was contagious. Whatever she felt was rubbing off on the farmer, and she didn't like it. There was no reason for either of them to be sad, surely. And that just made her sadder. It didn't help that it was autumn. Leaves were losing their color, giving all of Apple Acres a nostalgic glow. Almost as if the trees themselves held their breath, awaiting winter. The chilly weather was delightful, but bittersweet. Saturday had been slow going. Her routine felt cumbersome. She even ran to the Carousel boutique at some point, determined to check on her old friend, but was relieved to find Rarity was out of her house, likely enjoying herself elsewhere that day. It made the day more bearable, but it did not stop her from rushing as she quickly locked up everything on Sunday, when the sun was highest, and hastily gathered her effects. She walked fast towards her friend's home, almost at a gallop, determined to make this be a day where Rarity only smiled. She reached the doors of the boutique, not a moment too soon, and Applejack had always been punctual, so hearing the doorbell over an hour earlier than their schedule made Rarity's heart stop. She had spent her morning tidying up not only the boutique, but herself. Before that knock, she was almost in a state akin to meditation, brushing her mane by her vanity mirror, applying her makeup wisely, focusing only on the very casual and normal day she was going to have with one of her oldest friends. But that illusion was shattered when she heard the doorbell ring, and her heart beat faster when she had heard her old friend beckoning from outside. "Hey, your heirs, I hope I ain't intruding, but I thought I'd come by earlier." Even by the way she spoke, it was obvious that she was smiling. And because of that, Rarity smiled too. All of her composure and decorum gone, she sprinted downstairs as fast as her old legs allowed her, bringing all her makeup and main care material in her magic. She stood behind that door, nervously, and shouted, "In a minute, darling." The phonograph still echoed in the halls of the boutique quietly, with that ever so delightful white noise of soothing music. It was time to speedrun. Rarity pulled her nearest mirror close with magic, and with her brush and makeup material still floating around her, she got to work as fast as possible. Practice makes perfect, and years of experience allowed her to, at an incredible speed, to quickly tidy up what still needed to be tidied, with fast and agile brush strokes and efficient pace. She quickly glanced at herself in determination in the mirror, studying her complexion. Old, sure, but absolutely still had it. "Go get her," she whispered to herself. And finally, with one fluid yet slightly awkward magical motion, she opened the door to greet her friend. The early afternoon autumn sun lit Applejack akin to a halo as she smiled, sitting diligently by the door, and that smile was as warm as it had ever been. For a brief moment of silence, Rarity was lost, seeing how the wrinkles and freckles in the farmer's face moved in delightful ways when she smiled. It was as if Applejack was her knight in shining armor, here to rescue her from loneliness and tedium. "Sorry if I'm intruding. I bought some of Apple Bloom's board games, some old photo albums of our friends, and freshly baked apple fritters. I hope I ain't interrupting anything." And again, that ever so warm smile. Rarity was utterly lost in it, face growing redder by the second, dumb smile on her face. The farmer wore her late grandmother's old ascot, and her late father's hat, carrying with her a backpack with the contents she described. The unicorn could already smell the delicious sweets from here. She suppressed the instinct of leaping into her friend's arms and kissing her then and there. Sugar Cube, hello?" She tilted her head in mild confusion at Rarity standing silently by the door, smiling. This finally snapped the unicorn out of her trance, resulting in her leaping into her friend's embrace, hugging her tightly. "I'm just so happy you're here, dear." The words came out of her involuntarily, expressing her exhaustion and yet delight. And it was true. Just seeing Applejack, hearing her voice, even smelling her, changed her demeanor completely. With an embarrassed chuckle, the old earth pony hugged her back. "Phew, I thought I was too early. Good to hear. I'm glad I'm here too." That same scent of farm and apples, now mixed with the scent that implied the farmer's previous day's hard work, as well as the delicious scent of apple fritters, and Rarity minded none of it, and at the same time, the unicorn's lovely perfume assaulted the farmer's senses. making her consider if she was sitting on a flowery orchard for a brief moment. Shuffling awkwardly out of the embrace she wanted to linger on, the old unicorn gave her friend a nervous smile. I wasn't done tidying up, forgive me. But please, come in. She walked into the boutique, and her friend followed. That previous statement was quite odd to the farmer, because Rarity looked anything but messy. She had her mane in impeccable sheen and curliness, wearing it on an almost fully side-swept braid, accompanied by her incredibly well-put-together makeup and gorgeous outfit. The same fur from 2 days before, as well as an old frilly dress that she had not seen worn in ages, but very much looked familiar. Applejack was reminded of times where Rarity would dress up for a party or gala, and would resemble a princess, if not surpassing one with her incredible looks. Blushing involuntarily, the farmer pointed at her whole deal. What's the occasion? With a slightly mischievous smile, the unicorn walked closer, even dragging her tail across Applejack's flank. Oh, I felt the energy to try a bit with my looks today, and so I did. Make yourself comfortable on the couch, dear. I'll be with you in a moment. This is trying a bit. You know what? I ain't even surprised. You're Rarity, after all. The farmer let out a chuckle, complying and moving to the couch. She rested her backpack and took out its contents, delivering them to an end table diligently. Rarity lit the fireplace with her magic, to make them both more comfortable from the autumn cold. Her eyes rested on the photo album for a moment. Even seeing the cape already instigated the awakening of dozens upon dozens of nostalgic moments within. Snapping out of it upon hearing sounds from the kitchen, she spoke from over the living room. Oh, I'll have the pear cinnamon tea, please. You need any help in there? Oh, it's quite all right, darling. I have another idea for today. Rarity came from the kitchen to the living room. With her, she brought 2 cups, a fancy one and a familiar one. The latter she knew to be Applejack's favorite whenever she came around. And finally, water and wine. And incredibly expensive and rare wine at that. Whoa, we drinking then? Applejack couldn't help but chuckle, imagining a repeat of tipsy Rarity from Friday, with slight concern for what this implied. If you don't mind, of course. You know I love tea more than anyone, but personally, after this Friday, I could use something a bit stronger. She placed all the contents under the table, already eyeing the sweets her friend brought as she served both their cups with wine. Internally, Rarity needed liquid courage, and Applejack didn't mind. The unicorn's wine selection was certainly the finest, gifts from clients and her own impeccable taste. Not that it mattered to the farmer, whose tastes were simpler. Besides, if it would make Rarity happy, she would do it without hesitation. And that wine had aged impeccably, rivaled only by the mare that served them. They sat on opposite ends of the same couch. Between them, the photo album. They drank together and ate together, and for a moment felt a bit younger, sharing laughs and gleeful moments. And Pinky danced so hard the whole table toppled over. She just spilled punch all over the floor. The guards weren't sure what to do. Sunset applauded it while Twilight panicked. Gosh, ain't no party like that goodbye party. The farmer laughed heartily, enjoying another bite of her delicious sweets. They both sat together, looking at Applejack's photo album together, reminiscing on the memories, a few wine cups in, and even more apple fritters in. They giggled delightedly as they looked over the picture of their younger selves, standing in front of a disastrous party, smiling contentedly for having survived another ordeal, even if this one was self-inflicted. It was a celebration of the new princesses of the night and day moving to Canterlot. With a giggle, Rarity brought a hoof to her lips, looking at the picture closer. Oh, I had to change outfits 3 times that day. It was like fluid was just exploding left and right. And with Pinky around, that might as well be what was happening. They both laughed together again. Rarity wondered if those feelings would fade if she met Applejack again when she was sober, but they did not, increasing tenfold every time she heard her farmer friend laugh. A hearty laughter that came from the chest, that hadn't aged a day, even after she watched her friend's smile produce adorable wrinkles in her face. And the mix of delicious, nostalgic sweets that were always consistently flavorful, with the simply divine wine sure wasn't helping, Every time Applejack would switch to water, Rarity would mimic her. I'm sure glad that wasn't the last party we did, but darn it, feels like an eternity since we've all been together. Even if she was smiling, Applejack's eyes did linger a bit on the pictures, as if attempting to reach into them and pull their friends closer into a big hug. A long sigh that started delighted and ended in sorrow came from the unicorn. Her eyes lingered in those pictures in similar ways. Every pony left Ponyville except us two. On to bigger and better things, I suppose. They left and we stayed here. We always stayed here. Yeah, well, Applejack was going to say, can't blame 'em, but the words were stuck in her throat. Yes, in a way she could blame them, but it would be a selfish grudge. Rarity frowned slightly, taking a frustrated swig of wine. Sometimes I wonder why I couldn't ever leave. I tried, oh my Celestia, I did try, and yet I always came back here. She took a quick glance around the room, feeling foolish. Foolish for not finding a home elsewhere, one that wasn't so empty. Then as her wary gaze landed on her friend, she could definitely think of a reason for staying. They shared tired smiles and understanding looks, and Applejack exhaled through her nose. I'd be a bit surprised if you did actually leave, if I'm honest. A light chuckle from the wary seamstress. Oh, why's that, dear? Don't you remember? You and me are the only ones from our friend group that were born and raised in Ponyville, Rares. No wonder we'd stay while every pony else would leave. The farmer's gaze went out the window, a bit listless, seeing the streets of their hometown. The sun was much lower now, and a haze of beige bathed the streets. That argument certainly held a kernel of truth to it. Ponyville had been home since she was born. With a light shudder, Rarity remembered less fond memories. When I tried living in Manhattan, well, I don't know, it's difficult to describe. I was surrounded at all times, but it simply didn't feel like they were actually living around me. I never felt at home. It felt just... She couldn't find the words. It felt lonely, it felt empty, it felt like exile. The city of her dreams felt like exile. The farmer listened attentively, even if a bit concerned, as Rarity continued. And now, well, I don't know if it's fair to say this, but Ponyville has felt the same way. For a long, long time now. Her words failed her, as if she could feel that lingering on the subject would bring about tears soon. Ears drooped, head low. The farmer nodded. She wanted to defend Ponyville, to defend their home, but she lacked the energy to do so. Because in a way, well, I guess I can understand. Nothing's like it used to be. Or rather, the town hasn't changed, but we have. They shared an understanding silence, which at least was punctuated by the crackling of the fireplace and the music emanating from the phonograph. The unicorn's eyes were fixed on the flames, unsure of how to even carry on with this sort of conversation, as she quickly sipped from the wine once more. Scratching her chin, the farmer drank some water, thinking of any way to help. Well, here's something. Why didn't you move to Canterlot? Hell, I bet Twilight and Sunset would have loved to have you in their castle. Sounds like a certified Rarity dream to me. She couldn't help but smile, side-eyeing her friend, hiding her smile with another apple fritter. Oh, Applejack, I considered that, and did so strongly. But think about it. Having one friend imposing on their home would get daunting fast, and I would hate to be that imposition. Besides, the mere thought of seeing my Alicorn friends, ever stronger, ever taller, while I age, why, it would simply make me feel so much worse. Those words were heavy. Rarity was talking about death. The farmer couldn't let those thoughts spiral in her friend's head. She piped in instantly. Ya should visit me more often, Sugar Cube. I mean it. We could both use each other's company more. And I promise ya, I won't force you to do any chores. She let out a big smile, knowing it would make her friend laugh, and it did. Yes, that would indeed make me feel a lot better, darling. She smiled in agreement. It was true. If she shared a home with Applejack, she would feel endlessly happier than she felt now. A brief intermission of silence, before Rarity piped in once more. What about you? Your home, your family. You're alone now. I know this sounds foolish to ask of Applejack the apple, but why did you never leave? Shaking her head slightly, the farmer suppressed something within herself. I'm an apple. We don't abandon apple acres. Your siblings have. You're alone now. Are you happy? Tilting her head analytically, Rarity looked through her, desperately wanting to see common ground. Why wouldn't I be? She responded quickly, but the words failed her. Because you're alone? Applejack tripped over her words, attempting to say them with conviction. Rarity, our friends and family are incredibly happy. Our friends and family are happily in love, scattered around Equestria, chasing their dreams. And what's more, I'm a legendary hero that helped save the world multiple times. We are heroes that changed the world for the better. Being unhappy would just be plumb selfish. Why? She got empathetic, energetic. One could describe it as angry, but Rarity saw it as desperate. 'Cause of everything we have? We ought to be grateful. We ought to cherish it. We have our homes, and all the people we love are happy. Why shouldn't we be too? What in the world would be the point of it all, if we weren't happy too? What would be the point? She stopped, breathing uneasily, letting quiet fill the room once more. Rarity cut that quiet, even if only for a moment, asking her again, Applejack, are you happy? No response from the farmer, but she didn't need one. The way that Applejack looked at the floor said it all. It was in an understanding, mournful silence. And there it was, common ground. Leaning back on the couch, Rarity almost took another sip of wine, but then stopped, inhaling sharply. I know my answer to that question. There's a hole in my chest that's been leaking my whole life, and I only noticed it recently. Quiet as their eyes met, with weariness and sorrow. Applejack, I'm not happy. I haven't been for a long time. Is there something wrong with me? Am I selfish? She spoke with a certain desperation, as if begging for forgiveness. Shaking her head quietly, the farmer spoke softly. Of course not, Sugarcube. It's just our age catching up to us. But Rarity was not convinced, as she closed her eyes in doubt. The others are happy. They're all so happy. Why aren't we? The question lingered for a moment, and Applejack had no answer. I don't know, Sugarcube. Maybe we ought to talk about something else. I suppose so. She agreed completely, even if facing those feelings felt important. The heartache they shared pained them. They both exhaled, attempting to return to some form of normalcy in the conversation. As seduction went, Rarity knew it was stupid to even try. Considering how both of them felt, she was just happy to have common ground with her friend, and this wouldn't work if she tried throwing herself at Applejack. She needed to be honest, profoundly so, and yet those words failed her. She needed to get back on track. Applejack beheld the album once more, wondering and muttering, maybe we ought to look further back. The unicorn's thoughts meandered, and she remembered another fond memory. Oh, darling, I've got one. Let me look. She shuffled the pages of the album, looking for a specific page, a specific memory, and she found it. With a gasp and a nostalgic smile, the farmer nodded. Our first Grand Galopin' Gala. That was one of the best, worst nights of my life. What a wonderful mess it was. Rarity inspected the picture thoroughly with delight. Good heavens, Twilight was so short back then. I forgot how much taller than her I was. And look at me. Another dress tragically covered in cake. I was so beautiful. You're always beautiful, Sugarcube. Applejack didn't hesitate, not even a little. And her friend didn't respond, simply smiled, looking down, her face getting redder. Every time Applejack said it, she felt it, and she felt it even more now. They looked at the picture fondly, and the farmer piped in teasingly, pointing at it. Hey, remember your Prince Charming? She teased mischievously. With a scoff and a groan and a roll of the eyes, the less fun parts of the night flooded Rarity's memories. Oh, don't even go there. You should know that after that night, I strongly reconsidered my attraction to stallions. It was that bad. With a nod and a toothy smile, The farmer reminisced. How about that? Didn't take, though. He still dated plenty of stallions after, and mares, if I recall. Rarity leaned back on the couch, hiding her face with her wineglass in embarrassment. I certainly tried, but I struggle to hold any of them quite fondly in my memory nowadays, no matter how important they felt back then. Scratching her chin and hesitating, Applejack wondered if she should speak more, or if this subject was a minefield. Curiosity got the better of her. If you don't mind me asking, why did none of them work out? I mean, you were always so gorgeous and confident and just put together. I always wondered how you never got your very own Prince Charming. Why did none of them work out? Rarity suppressed the urge to state they weren't you, knowing that statement had no basis other than the adoration she felt at the moment. And try as she might, she herself couldn't find an answer to that, having tortured herself with that question before. Just not in the cards for me, I guess. The words were simple, but they hid tremendous sorrow, tremendous longing, a lifetime without fulfilling love coming back all at once, and Applejack could notice. Well, don't take yourself out of the game yet, Sugar Cube. You still got plenty of years ahead of ya. Maybe your luck's gonna change? In a sense, she absolutely believed that. She felt the pain Rarity felt, and suppressed her own anger for how unfair it was that someone as wonderful as her had never felt true love. It didn't feel right. At least that got her smiling, despite the irony of who was saying it. That's sweet of you to say, dear. Their eyes met, sharing kind smiles. Rarity saw a chance to dig deeper. How about you, darling? Try as I might, I can't remember ever seeing you date or have a fling with any pony. Never sat right with me. You're strong, handsome, and incredibly dependable. Why? That question dug deep. It was the kind of question you simply don't ask yourself, but it felt like it should have been asked, years ago even. She leaned back, scratching her chin nervously some more, feeling a slight fluster, unsure of what to say, and unsure of why it felt like that. I don't know, it never felt worth it. They're suitors, but I've always been a hard worker. Focused so much on the farm, stuff like that just seemed like a distraction. Heck, I don't know. I don't know if I want to think about it much. Not at this age. Lost time? Yeah, lost time. Another moment of silence, this one a bit more forlorn. They were both thankful that the music continued to echo quietly on the halls of that boutique. But Rarity knew just how to break that silence, with a smile appealing in her lips. Applejack, do you remember your first crush? The farmer's face quietly lit up as she nodded. Now those were memories that dug much, much deeper. How could I forget? She's sitting right beside me. They shared comfortable smiles as Applejack continued. The prettiest filly in my class. Obsessed with me because I came back from an extended stay in Manhattan, wanting to know everything she could about how ponies lived and dressed there. Rarity smiled widely, even if reserved. And little did I know that I don't know a suit from a shirt. By Celestia, I fibbed so much just to keep you interested in me. I was one heck of a lie when I was a young'un. Flustered with embarrassment, but delighted at the memories, the farmer couldn't help but chuckle. With a giddy sigh, Rarity looked out the window. Thinking of all that long ago. If only we were wise then, as we are now. With a jokey, sarcastic tone, Applejack shrugged. Speak for yourself. I was plenty wise. They both snickered, considering all their past shenanigans. The farmer let out a weary sigh, with the weight of all the years that passed. Gosh, it feels like an eternity ago, don't it? Little Applejack getting fussed by little Rarity over clothes and fancy stuff. And I would have done anything to keep you around. With a nod, the unicorn smiled, reminiscing on the same memories of so long ago. Oh, you didn't have to do much. You're always good company, Applejack. Incredibly charming even as a filly. We aren't friends for no reason, even now. Nodding, the farmer leaned back. Well, I'm at least glad we never eloped back then. We were both foolish. Would have been a disaster for two ponies like us, too. Maybe we should have. The air in the room stopped moving. They both tensed up in silence as their eyes met. No smiles, but no frowns either. They looked at each other intently. Neither could read the other's mind, but doing so would have resulted in explosive catharsis, were it possible. Quiet. The phonograph stopped, the disc having reached its end, and that snapped them both out of their trance. With barely a glance backwards, Rarity used her magic to change the disc with ease, swapping it for another just as calm one, and resuming the music. And yet the silence between the two remained, no longer with eye contact. It was an unbearable quiet for both, as they fidgeted, unsure. Rarity wasn't going to let it stop here. Why were we never a thing, Applejack? That question held a certain weight, the kind that even the burly farmer would struggle to carry. She had no adequate answer for it, no justification. That's the why I'm talking, Sugar Cube, she told herself as well, not wanting to consider the heavy implications of that question. She was too chivalrous to take advantage of both their vulnerable states. With an empty gaze, the unicorn placed her empty cup on the table and didn't refill it. I'm not drunk, she stated plainly, and it was true. She was a bit tipsy, maybe, but... More silence, more quiet. For what felt like an eternity, they both stared at the fireplace. Why weren't we? Applejack asked in a mutter. Quiet, but audible. Rarity was out of moves. This had to be a good moment for her true feelings. But she felt like a huge weight pushed her down. It was akin to something stuck in her throat, or akin to trying to lift something you're just not strong enough to. I think I need to rest. Would you mind carrying me to bed again, dear? The words came out of her. She didn't feel like she had even spoken them. There was a tinge of disappointment, and yet maybe relief on the farmer's voice, in realization that their meeting was over. It had been heavy. Of course, Sugar Cube. And of course, this was just an excuse for them to be closer. On the same rehearsed motion, Rarity climbed on her back, clinging tightly with a tragic sigh. As they both moved by the quiet halls of the boutique, she let out a whisper. I hope you'll always be this strong. No response from the farmer, as the unicorn fidgeted with her mane, caressing it. Once more, with the same rehearsed motion, Applejack laid her friend in bed like she was a princess. And yet, Rarity kept a hoof on her friend's cheek, caressing it slowly. She couldn't muster a smile. Her look was one of desperation. What would I do without you, handsome? She spoke softly, near tears. That desperation flew by Applejack, who gave her an assuring smile. It's okay, Rares. It's okay. I'ma tidy up my things downstairs and leave you be, alright? See you next Sunday. And once again, that feeling of hollowness plagued the unicorn as she watched her friend leave. She couldn't let this happen again. Applejack, please don't go. Please stay. Please. That made the farmer halt instantly, turning her head and being stunned by Rarity's look of absolute desperation and longing. As she sat up on the bed, she moved back to the bed, sitting beside it, right in front of her. Sugar Cube, it's okay. We'll see each other again soon, won't we? She tilted her head, attempting to decipher Rarity's despair. Please stay. A whisper, a mournful whisper. A quiet silence between the two of them as they stared into each other's eyes. The farmer was a tad oblivious, a bit confused, until she nodded. Ah, I get it, like old times. You want to have a sleepover, huh? I getcha. We've both been on a nostalgia train lately. Rarity did not allow her to finish. There were no words to express how she felt, so she decided actions would have to speak for her. She pulled the farmer closer and kissed her on the lips, for a brief, desperate time, making sure that there was no doubt about how she felt, and that there was no more distance between them. And as they kissed, she felt a guilt, a regret, for not having done this ages ago, decades ago. She pulled away sniffling, tears springing forth, attempting to hold them in. The farmer's eyes widened. She was in utter shock. The longing shook her words. Applejack, I am so sorry. I think I love you. I think I've always loved you. And I feel so stupid that it took me this long to realize it. I'm so sorry. Silence as she got closer once more, touching the farmer's fuzzy chest with the same shade of red in both their faces. I've been wondering for so long why I felt so hollow, wondering what I've been missing. I know what it is now. It's you. It's always been you. And just like that, Applejack felt like she was a little filly again, desperately pining for the attention of the prettiest mare in Ponyville, hoping they were closer in any way. She let out an exhaled chuckle at the irony of it all. Rarity waited for what felt like agonizing seconds to hear her friend's response. Applejack scratched her own chin, looking away with a delighted, wary smile, blowing air through her nostrils with amusement. You know when you're so used to breathing, you forget you're doing it? A quiet nod. I think I've loved you the same way, every day of my darn life. You are always the best part of my day. She gave her the warmest of smiles as she got closer once more, moving strands of Rarity's hair away from her eyes. Sharing in flustered chuckles, there was no more need for words. In Applejack's mind, the same recontextualization of events happened. Every kindness, every tender moment, every sweet affirmation between them had a different meaning now. They kissed once more. This time, it was just right, pulling each other closer. Rarity apologized every time she took a breath, and Applejack assured her that all was well. They pulled away, looking at each other with a certain tragedy, a certain joy. The unicorn cradled her love's cheeks. So, I love you, and you love me? She asked, like it was everything. Always, Sugar Cube, a response without hesitation. They shared delighted, teary giggles in each other's embrace, and for a moment, they simply were. No barriers between them, no more troubles, no more emptiness. Until Rarity changed her demeanor completely, scooting over, giving her love some space. Applejack, on the bed, now. Obeying implicitly, the farmer let out a flustered smile. What we doin', Sugar Cube? Making up for lost time. And so, entwined in ways they have never been, closer than they had ever been, exploring each other in ways that they had never been, smiling in ways they had never been, they made up for lost time. Chapter 3. It'll Always Be You. Monday came with ease, and neither of them had left that bed. They slept, intertwined, not daring to let go. In a way, they both shared the slight fear that the night they shared had been nothing but a dream. And yet, Applejack was awakened by the sound of sobbing. With the sun barely peeking from the curtains, she opened her eyes, feeling the desperate sniffles of her love in front of her, as they were still intertwined. What's wrong, Sugar Cube? Rarity was in tears, and it looked like she had been for a while. She sniffed and sighed, gathering any composure, attempting to find the words, attempting to have her eye meet her love's. I just... Look at us, Applejack. A couple of old mares just... She sniffled a couple of times, and her love listened intently with concern. It's just... I'm so happy to finally have you in my arms, and to think that I could have had this happiness years ago, decades ago even. Applejack tried assuring her, tried interrupting her, tightening her embrace, but Rarity persisted. To think that we've lost so much time. I have nothing but regrets now. We just... Why? Why did we waste so much time? Shaking her head, Applejack spoke as softly as she could, as if Rarity was made of glass. You can't blame yourself. Please don't, Rarity. It ain't anybody's fault. We loved each other so much, it was part of our routine. Another nervous sob, as the unicorn looked away in despair. But look at us. Old and grey, all those years are gone now. All that time. Yes, they're gone. But we're here now. We're here now, Sugar Cube. And we have time. Please look at me. We have time. She came closer, with a wary, understanding look. We We have time, Rarity repeated, stumbling over her words, moving a strand of hair off of her lover's eyes, and wiping away her tears. Applejack spoke softly, with a kind smile. No more frowns, no more crying, not anymore. We're together, and we have time. We have time, Rarity agreed, and a small, tired smile perking on her lips. They kissed slowly, softly, and in that way they remained for a long time, holding each other as if they were the last ponies alive in the world, as if they were all that mattered, which to each other they absolutely were. Only after a while, when Rarity no longer sobbed, as they leaned foreheads, did she dare to speak. Applejack, dear, this may be a big request, but I'd like to open a boutique in Apple Acres. By this, I mean move in with you. I couldn't bear the distance. Not now. Not anymore. Eyes widened in surprise. The farmer gazed at her. Whoa there, are you sure? You'd close down the Carousel Boutique? She nodded, with a wary determination. I would so, without hesitation, if it means being closer to you, dear. This place has been my home for ages, but I can't stand living here alone anymore. Although this boutique treated me well, it's not my home anymore. You are. I guess that's right. I feel the same way. She smiled warmly, nodding. So does that mean I could? Of course you could, Sugar Cube. I need you closer more than ever, too. Immediately after that statement, Rarity lunged at her with fervor and joy. She could barely mutter thank yous as she aggressively kissed her love. After recoiling from each other, Applejack let out a soft snicker, both delightedly flustered, her mind elsewhere. I do feel kind of silly. I was going to suggest something else. Oh? Well, you see, none of our friends know about us yet. You and me being together, I mean. And letters would be kind of boring for a bombshell like this, don't you agree? With her eyes widened, Rarity listened intently, as her heart fluttered with expectation. So I was going to suggest, you and me, together, take a trip around Equestria, visiting all our friends and family, sharing the news. A road trip vacation, so to speak. Both remained in quiet silence, as Rarity gasped softly. She was happy. Oh, she was so incredibly happy. Oh, Applejack, darling, that sounds just... Good heavens, that would be wonderful. But what about Apple Acres? Don't you need to... Smiling with pride, Applejack chuckled. I don't need to do anything I don't want to, Sugar Cube. I'm the boss now, remember? And if I want to ask some cousins to come check on the farm on occasion during my absence, well, that's just what I do. To be frank, I never left Ponyville because of you. Because I knew you were here. I needed company. Every word improved her mood. Every word filled her with joy and hope. Like every fleeting passing second was better and better. Oh, I want to leave. I want to leave so bad, dear. Then why don't we? With an incredibly warm smile, they leaned foreheads together and giggled together. Come here, handsome. Rarity couldn't resist, unleashing a barrage of kisses as they intertwined themselves once more, continuing to be closer than they had ever been. There was nothing holding them back anymore. There were no more battles to be fought, no more work that needed to be done, and these two old mares had no reason to stay home. In fact, they were both more than ready for their next adventure. But for today, they decided to stay in bed a little while longer. The preparations for their departure were easy, not because it wasn't work, but because together they felt lighter than air. Gathering luggage, tidying up the house, and even something as simple as leaving a sign that said, on vacation, felt like an incredibly easy task to do with your love by your side. And Rarity delighted herself in closing the Carousel Boutique. Even knowing she would return, she felt no regrets anymore. Closing down Apple Acres was certainly a bit more work, but together they delighted themselves with every chore, every action they shared each moment with a passionate fervor. Every kiss was a gift, a treasure. Every nuzzle a grand gesture, returned with its appropriate loving reward. The last thing they did before the moment of departure was visiting the first family on the list, the graves of Applejack's parents and grandmother, and they shared the news with delighted, teary joy. There was certainly some reaction of surprise from Ponyville, a certain hustle and bustle on seeing some of the oldest of the heroes in Equestria eloping together, and leaving their home no less. Lots of cheerful so-longs and best wishes for the happy couple. Not that the two of them cared, having eyes only for each other. And in that way they remained, until the day of the departure. No more frowning, no more crying, simply adoring every moment that they lived together. Ponyville's train station had never felt so inviting, so cozy, so full of quiet longing. Closing her eyes, feeling the autumn breeze in her face and mane, Rarity heard every little sound around her. She felt attuned to it, every kind whisper or snicker of the ponies that awaited on that train station, every leaf or grass rustle, every bird that chirped in the distance. The world felt large, it felt vast, but it didn't feel loud. She considered, for a moment, all the other time she had sat on that same train station, waiting for a train, and how neither of them compared to the sheer glee and ease she felt at this moment. She smiled, even with eyes closed, in gleeful expectation. She was alive. Now, more than ever, she was alive. And as Applejack sat next to her, having acquired a map, she felt even better. Okay, Sugar Cube, here's the plan. The farmer placed a map of Equestria on the small table they both sat at, near the train tracks. So first off, Sugar Bell's village, and as far as Canterlot, so we can stop there and pay her and my brother a visit. We don't gotta stay for very long, but I know for sure they'd be delighted if we did. I'm not in a rush, dear. Let's see how we feel when we get there. And truthfully, with a chuckle, Rarity felt no rush whatsoever, other than the excitement of beginning this new journey. With a chuckle and nod, Applejack continued. Indeedy. After that, Canterlot ain't that far, so we could take another train easily and cross multiple names off the list. Since our sister's in college there, and of course, the two princesses would be simply delighted to give us room in that big old castle of theirs. Rarity smiled mischievously as her face reddened. Oh yes, you and me in private royal chambers. Nothing would please me more. And in a way, she certainly would be quite pleased. Chuckling with embarrassment and fluster, Applejack nodded in agreement. Yes, agreed, Sugar Cube. Since that town's huge and darn lovely, we can stay there for as long as we like. I reckon Twilight and Sunset would likely even throw a party or two, delighted to have us. Coming even closer with a raspy loving growl, Rarity whispered softly, Indeed they would, and I would be delighted to have you. They shared a passionate kiss that ended in kinkles, and only after that subsided did Applejack continue. Well, after that, next up would be Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. Now I don't know where the Wonderbolts are torn, so we need to find out before setting off. Could be any town or city in Equestria, really, no matter how far it is. And unsurprisingly, Rarity kept smiling, utterly unfazed, delighted even. Sounds lovely to me, dear. We haven't watched a show of theirs in a while. I would love to do so. With a loving, warm smile, Applejack looked at her, with the final one in the list in hand. Now here's where it gets interesting. Last but certainly not least, I got no idea where Pinkie Pie is. In fact, I ain't even sure who would know, given that she travels everywhere. So we have to go visiting places where she might be, asking our friends and asking the people to know where she might have gone. I thought of starting with Yakistan, but frankly, we could start anywhere. She looked at her love with expectation. Rarity's smile grew even wider with joy as she beheld her love like she was everything. So what you're saying is, our travels might take us all over Equestria, in all sorts of places, aimlessly wandering together, unsure of when we'll ever come back here? Yep, that's right, Sugar Cube. Another quick and passionate breaching of the gap between them. Another fervorous, loving kiss. Rarity nuzzled her head on her love's shoulders with a loving sigh. I love you so much, Applejack. This is going to be wonderful. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for being you. I love you too, more than anything, Sugar Cube. They smiled warmly at each other, embracing and not letting go. And in that way they remained, until the train finally arrived, not a care in the world. The doors opened, and ponies started boarding, but the two lovers simply held each other in front of that open door, It was a threshold that led to everything. Before they stepped in, Applejack made sure to kiss her lover sweetly and with fervor, with the sheer excitement and joy of the journey to come overwhelming the both of them, resulting in both of the mares giggling in each other's embrace. And behind them, other ponies stood, waiting to board, in slight annoyance of the old couple blocking their path. "You're holding up the line, Applejack. There are other ponies in the world, you know." "There are?" And just like that, more kisses, more giggles. They leaned their foreheads together in sheer bliss. "Ready for another adventure, Sugar Cube?" "With you, always." And then, with one last kiss, they stepped through the threshold together, side by side. Hello, it's me, Bunny. Again, I'm plugging Cinna, aka Red Hoodie 21's GoFundMe. He's raising money to get him and his cat Oscar out of an abusive home. More info can be found in the GoFundMe link below. If you do donate, you can take a screenshot of the donation receipt and email it to me at bunnyblastYGO@gmail.com. Then I'll send you the current fics I'm narrating up to 4 weeks in advance, as soon as I finish them. Beyond that, this Tuesday we're back with Twilight's New Moon, Chapter 4, Fluttershy, and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. And next Friday, we will be starting Magic Disagrees by Red Hoodie 21. Bye!